we do entrance prayers, and they start in front of, in front of the Ombo. And what's the Ombo?
The table with the icons.
That's actually the analogian, and we actually stand in front of it.
The Ombo is the circle.
Oh yeah, the Ombo is the raised platform. The raised platform, the raised part.
What did you call the table?
So some people call it an analogian, other people call it a tetrapod, which are just fancy Greek words for simple English things like four-sided table or, a table in the middle of the room. So like kakamaka. And I'm sure somebody watching that's Greek will be like, Father, that's not what it means. That's okay. Okay, so in ancient times, where were the actual entrance prayers said? Yeah. Where? They were said in the narthex. In the narthex. What's the narthex? The candle stand. Well, I mean, it's basically, that's it. The candle stand area in our church, that's the narthex. And then whenever you go in through the doors, you're in the nave. Why do we call it that? Why do we call it the nave? It's Old English, because that's the word for like the belly of the ship. And the church is like a ship. It's like, what kind of ship in particular? What's the ship that saves you from the storm, along with all the animals?
Coast Guard.
Not the Coast Guard. The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark. Noah's Ark, not the Ark of the Covenant. Noah's Ark. Very good, Coast Guard. You guys are killing me today. Okay, and so we went through the prayers yesterday, the entrance prayers, and we got towards the end, and at the very end, after we say the entrance prayers, and we go up on the Ombo, and we say a prayer to the icon of Christ, and we bow and we kiss it. And you'll notice something too in our church, and a lot of churches do this. There's the big icon, right, of Christ, and then on the other side of the royal doors, there's the big icon of the Theotokos. I guess for you guys, it would be the other way around. Doing it, if I'm looking at it, you're looking at it, it's, Christ and the Theotokos. But if you look, we don't kiss those icons. We don't kiss those big icons. If you look on the side of the royal doors on the entry, we got little ones to kiss. Anybody have an idea why we do that? That happens pretty early. It's purely practical. There's no magical, mystical, super spiritual. It's to keep the nice, big, beautiful icons clean, and so that we're not smooching all the paint off of it. So you kind of have the little ones there for you to kind of kiss all the time, because it's easier to what? Is it easier to fix or replace a little icon or a big, beautiful icon? Little icon. So that's why we do it.
That's the Ombo. And anybody?
Yes.
Can anybody kiss those icons? Or just you?
Just the clergy. Those are for the clergy when they're doing entrance prayers. That is such a good question. I have never heard somebody say you can't, but I've never seen somebody try and kiss them either, other than the clergy.
Don't the bride and groom after a wedding kiss those small ones?
In some traditions, they do. In some traditions, they do. So that's a good point. In some traditions, they do after the wedding. They do, because you got an icon of Christ, you got an icon of Theotokos, and who's the bride and who's the bridegroom? What are you supposed to be? You're supposed to be like Christ, and you're supposed to be like the Theotokos. You're supposed to be like the church. So, that means don't fight over what you're watching on TV and, whatever else.
Forgive me, where the front, where the icon screen is that standing there? Or is that
That's called the Ombo. So you've got those steps that go up to the Ombo. And we showed the picture from like the temple and all that stuff, how there's the raised platform. Okay.
So where would the
The candle stand. That area in the candle stand before you go through the doors. Boy, I need a different slide. I got to have a slide of church architecture. Okay. We're going afield here. Let's get back to entrance prayers. So, you got me. So, when we finish the entrance prayers, before we go in through the royal doors, the priest and the deacon, what do? If you come early, you'll actually see us do this. We bow to each other, and we say, and I say, forgive me, my brother and co-celebrant. Father Deacon bows to me and says, forgive me, my brother and co-celebrant. And then we turn towards all the people that are in the church, which is normally like Betty Ann, and, it's like Betty Ann and Fred and Patricia. But if you come early, you can get this too. And we bow towards all of you who aren't even there, and we say, forgive us, brothers and sisters. We ask forgiveness. Because what was on the first page of the entrance prayers? Who remembers? What is is the priest allowed to be, are the clergy allowed to be mad at anybody or not at peace with anybody before we serve liturgy? No. And so just before we even go into the royal doors, again, we ask for your forgiveness. So come so that we can ask it of you. I know, it's okay. Don't think that I'm browbeating you. So we enter in, and what do we say? Who's got a liturgy book in front of them? Who can read the entrance prayer? I will enter thy house.
There it is.
You got it?
I will enter thy house. I will worship for thy holy temple in the fear of thee. Lead me, O Lord, in thy righteousness because of my enemies. Make my way straight before thee. For there is no truth in their mouth. Their heart is destruction. Their throat is open sepulchre.
That's right.
They flatter with their tongue. Judge them, O God. Let them fall by their own counsels. Because of their many transgressions, cast them out, for they have rebelled against thee. But let all who take refuge in thee rejoice. Let them always sing for joy. And do thou dwell in them, that those who love thy name may exalt in thee. For thou, blessed and righteous, O Lord, thou covetest with good will as a shield.
Beautiful, beautiful prayer. Oh, I was just going to say, isn't that a beautiful prayer that we say? And where does that come from? It is. That's Psalm 5, verses 8 through 13. You're gonna find a reoccurring theme here with the vesting prayers. Hint, hint. So that's a psalm. So then we go, and so we say that as we're going through the doors. As we go through the doors, we go through the south door. We go through the south door. I guess I should throw that out there, because I see like, south door? What are we talking about? So what way do we face when we worship?
East.
East. Why east? Jerusalem. What if you live east of Jerusalem? All of those guys still face east.
Oh, east because the sun comes up.
Okay. Who is the sun? Who is the light that illumines all? Where's Messiah going to come from according to the Old Testament prophecy? He's going to come from the east, riding upon a cloud, surrounded by his angels. So if that's east, so you're facing the altar, that's east. And you got a door to your right and a door to your left, that's east. The door to your right would be the south door, and the door to your left would be the north door. And so it's very easy for us back on the altar. It's always, what side are you on? And so you're with the deacon, right? And you're facing the altar. Like, I don't know, are you on the right side or the left side? And then you stop and you think, no, wait a minute. Do you mean right, like when I'm facing this way, or whenever we turn around and go back out with the chalices, am I on the... You'll get all mixed up. So you say You're on the north side. I'm on the south side. You know? So we go and we bow 3 times at the holy altar, or during Great Lent we make prostrations, and we say, "O God, cleanse me a sinner and have mercy on me," 3 times, and then I kiss the gospel in the altar, and the deacon just kisses the altar. He kisses the corner of the altar. Very good. So then we go in and we start vesting, and on all of your tables, except for the Miklos family that sat at a table that doesn't have vestments, but I'm going to fix that for them right now. So we go in and we start vesting. Where do vestments come from? Well, I gave you a really big hint up here on the projector. Why vestments? Why do we even have vestments? You got it. I got it right here in Exodus. Make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it as on a seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it, attach it to the turban. Like all of this, God says, here are vestments. There is something special that you need to wear when you come to worship me. And it all has meaning. Which now becomes a really good question. Why don't I wear a turban and a cool breastplate tunic with 12 gems? And why don't my vestments look like this?
These are modern times.
No. Well, okay, so it's modern times, so I should wear jeans and a t-shirt. So I should wear jeans and a t-shirt. Like Pastor Billy Bow, who's down the road.
By modern,
He's up there with his banjo.
by modern, I mean,
What a friend we have in Jesus.
modern for us is 1,500 years,
So
3,000 years.
our vestments are messianized. We recognize that the Messiah has come. And if you actually look at these and think for a minute, you're going to realize that a lot of these, all this has a parallel with our vestments. All of these have a parallel with our vestments, mostly with the bishop. Mostly with the bishop, but some with the priest. And so what happens when they kick us out of the temple and then they kick us out of the synagogues? Can you, as a priest, go and make your own little cool outfit like this and kind of like go to where you're doing church at, like, you know, and not get drugged and killed? Like, no. But you're wearing your everyday, typical Roman attire, and so we adapt the clothes of the day into our vestments, and you can see how they develop. And we're going to go through them. So, we'll go through the vestments and the vesting prayers. My favorite. So the deacon comes, and he gets a blessing to put his vestments on. He folds them up, and he comes, and he says, "Blessed Master, the Stacharian and the Ararian." And I go, and I make the sign of the cross, and I say, "Blessed is our God, always, now, and ever, and unto ages of ages, amen." And the deacon kisses my hand. Why do you kiss the priest's hand?
You're kissing Christ's hand.
You're kissing Christ's hand. I am not blessing you. I am not blessing you. Anytime you come up and you say, "Bless Master," or "Father bless," you're asking your heavenly Father. You're asking God to bless you. And the blessing comes down. I'm doing the motion. You're kissing my hand, because my hand in that moment is what's imparting the grace. So that's why you kiss the priest's hand. It's not like, you know, I'm special or great or wonderful. You know, I'm not a mafia don. You know, I'm not going to come and ask you for a favor at a certain time. Or like, you know, no. It's, you're getting a blessing from God. Okay, and so the deacon has different vestments. And we'll talk about those at another time, but I'm going to just jump to the priest vestments. I'm going to jump to the priest vestments. No, we vest at the same time. We vest at the same time. The clergy come in, they get a blessing from the priest or the bishop if the bishop is there, and then they all go and they vest at the same time. Like, as soon as you got the blessing, you go and you vest. So, what's the first thing I put on? A Stacharian. Here's my Stacharian. What color is my Stacarian? White. Why? Why white?
Baptismal garment.
Ooh, A+. Baptismal garment. It's my baptismal garment. So now I'm going to drive poor Michael crazy, and I'm going to take my microphone off. Can you still hear me, Michael?
I can hear you.
Can you still hear me? Can you
Just
hear me
set
now?
it right on the table.
Do you remember the old cell phone commercials? Can you hear me now? Good. So, I take my Stacarian, and it has a cross on the back. It has a cross on the back. To remind me of what? To bear your cross. That this robe was bought, not with money. This robe. What is this robe? It's my baptismal garment. Whose baptism was I baptized into? Christ's. And what did that come with? A cross. It's to remind me of that. So, I say the prayer. Who's got it in front of them?
Blessed is our God, always, now, and ever, and unto ages of ages.
Well, that's what I say, yep. And I,
South with the Stacarian.
blessed is our God, now and ever, unto ages of ages. I go and I make the sign of the cross over the cross. I kiss it. And I put it on. And while I'm putting it on, I read this prayer. My soul shall rejoice in the Lord, for he has clothed me with the garment of salvation. Because that is what your baptismal robe is. And with the robe of gladness has he encompassed me. As a bridegroom, he has set a crown on me. And as a bride, he has adorned me with a raiment. Where is that from? Anybody know?
Like the wedding service.
Yeah. Well, where's it from?
That'd be a song.
A+. It's got to be a psalm. It's got to be a psalm. Well, I'll tell you what. This is the only one that's not a psalm. It's from Isaiah. That's Isaiah 61, verse 10. Isaiah 61, verse 10. So I put it on as I tease people one arm at a time. I gotta shake it out so it actually goes down. That's right. I pull my cross out. Now I cheated. I got one with the zipper. I got one with the zipper. A lot of them have a clasp on the front because zippers weren't invented yet. I say kakamaka. There are zippers now. And that clasp catches on your cross like crazy, and you'll go nuts. If you're a priest, you'll go nuts getting your poor cross all caught up on it. So most priests, they get one with a zipper now. Is there less grace because I got a zipper? No. But you'll meet some people that make weird things out of this. Okay, so I've got my baptismal garment on. Have you ever seen a Stacarian that was a different color than white?
Gray. I think Father Jonathan had a gray one.
So I'm going to tell you two quick things about this, okay? One, vestment makers, just like iconographers, are not theologians. They're craftsmen. And they will make you a Stacarian whatever color you want. They'll make you whatever color you want. I agree with Father Tom Hopko and all of the other great people that I consider saints and great people in our church, that this is your baptismal garment, so it should be white. So where do the gray ones come from? Rookie priest moves. Your Stacarian, you're sweating in it all the time. You can see that my wrists are starting to get dark. I need to wash this. You throw it in the washer machine and you say, my cassock is getting a little dirty too. I'll throw my cassock in with it.
Oh, no.
Rookie move. So if you see a priest with a gray Stacarian, dollars to donuts, that's what happened. They made the rookie move, they washed their cassock with their Stacarian, and it turned it gray. I know this because my father confessor at St. Vladimir did that. He did that, and he complained. Like, he was just like so upset. He had this beautiful, really nice Stacarian that was like a gift, and he washed it with his cassock and turned it gray. And so he wore it all the time just to kind of remind himself and as a cautionary tale to us students. So I got my Stacarian on. What goes on next?
You have to hear it.
Epitrachilion. Who can read the prayer for me? Woman of God, read the prayer for me.
Blessed is God who pours out his grace upon his priests, as myrrh upon the land which runs down the beard of Aaron, which runs down even to the hem of his garments.
Where's that from? Psalm 133, verses 1 through 3. And that psalm, actually, it's a little bit adapted. It says, behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head running down the beard, on the beard of Aaron, running down the collar of his robe. So, my epitrachilion, this is the most important vestment a priest wears. This is it. Why? Why an epitrachilion? You'll notice I wear this. Any service I'm doing, if I come to give you unction, if I'm giving you absolution after confession, anything, it's epitrachilion. Why? Where does this come from?
God's grace. It represents God's grace.
That's it. So if you ever want to know, like, what do these vestments mean? Just think of the vesting prayer. The vesting prayer tells you why. Okay? This is God's grace. This also represents Christ's yoke of the priesthood on me. It's a light yoke. It's a light yoke. In ancient times, it was two pieces. It came from, and we don't have it on the picture of the old Roman outfits, but you would wear around your neck, in Latin you call it a stole, and it was two pieces. And that stole, this epitrachilion, the thingy you wear around your neck, that's what epitrachilion means, thingy around the neck. Just so you know, next time somebody asks you what it means. This thing you wear around your neck, it was two pieces. This was your pot holders. This was your rag for cleaning the table. This is, if you were serving people, this is what you wore. You wore an epitrachilion. So, I'm wearing an epitrachilion because I am doing what? I'm serving the congregation. I'm serving God. And it has 7 crosses on it. It's become very common, very popular now, to put 7 crosses on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, well, mine has more than 7 crosses. You'll see on a lot of them, they put 7 crosses on them, and then somebody will say, oh, Father, that's to remind you that there's 7 sacraments. And here I'm going to get on my soapbox and say, how many sacraments are there in the Orthodox Church? It's a trick question. We never numbered them. The church never numbered them until Protestants came and said, there's only 2. Baptism and communion. And then they said, well, maybe communion's not one, maybe just baptism. And then the Roman Catholic Church in response said, no, there's 7. And then Orthodox churches at that time, because education was so very low, taking Roman Catholic books, whenever we wanted to agree with them, we took it from a Roman Catholic book. And whenever we disagreed with the Roman Catholic Church, we took a Lutheran book or we took a Calvinist book. Yeah. And that's where thank God that was in the past, and we were past a lot of this. But so you still have a little bit of a residual from this. I'm going to tell you, and lots of older priests might not agree with me, but there are more than 7 sacraments. As Father Alexander Schmemann so rightly pointed out, your whole life should be sacramental. When you pray with your family before dinner, that's a sacrament. When you make the sign of the cross, that's a sacrament. When you pray before you go to bed, that's sacramental. When you pray when you get up, that's sacramental. When you light a candle, there's a sacramental grace in that. Don't number them. That's from a 1600s argument that we were not part of. Don't number them. All right, off my soapbox. So what do I put on next?
Belt.
My belt. Who can read the prayer for my belt? And you got them in front of you guys. Pull them out and look at them. How often do you get to actually look at and touch priest vestments and see, like, what the heck is going on here? I put them there so you could actually see them.
Blessed is God, who girds me with strength, and has made my way perfect, who has guided my feet like those of a deer, and has set me on high places.
I like the one translation that says, He has set me secure upon the heights. Very good. Anybody know what that's from? Where are my biblical scholars at? Where are my experts on the Psalms? That's Psalm 18:32. That's okay. Don't feel bad. I had to look it up too. So I knew it was a psalm. I just couldn't remember which one. So I put my belt on over my epitrachelion. And then I'm going to tell you a secret. How often have you seen me standing up at the altar, kind of going?
I can't see that.
See, but if you ever see me standing there and it looks like I'm fidgeting, what I'm doing is going crazy because I want my cross on my belt to be in line. Because I was in the military, and if your gig line, if all your stuff wasn't perfectly in line, they would like scream at you and make you do a billion push-ups and then flutter kicks, and I don't know why, but like something's broken in my brain, and I still do that. Like everything's got to line up on me, or I go nuts.
Well, if you add two little snap things, like you could snap it.
Some priests do that.
Yeah.
Some priests do that. But the problem is, how often do you wear your epitrachelion without a belt? Very often. So haven't figured out a good way to do that yet. Why? So again, why a belt? Girded in strength. Whose strength? God's strength. God's strength. God is who strengthens you. And in ancient times, your belt, what was your belt for?
Back support.
It was more than that. Your belt was where you put your tools. If you were a carpenter, you jammed your tools in your belt. If you were a soldier, your sword went or your knife went in through your belt. Your belt is what holds your tools. It's what shows you're ready to work. So I'm wearing my belt. And the next prayer? Cuffs. How can you tell which is the right and which is the left cuff? Lots of priests tell me that there's like a way by telling like which way the string's coming out on the bottom. I am a rookie priest. I can't always tell. I got asked this in seminary. How do you know which cuff is your left cuff and which cuff is your right cuff? And my answer was, the left cuff is the one that you're wearing on your left hand. And the right cuff is the one you're wearing on your right. Whatever arm it's on is what cuff it is. I got half a point on the test for that. Half a point.
Ask your
You can always write labels in there.
one that is less worn is the left, right? If you're a right-handed.
Right. So who can read the prayer for the cuff on the right?
Thy right hand, O Lord, is glorified in strength. Thy right hand, O Lord, has shattered thy enemies, and in the greatness of thy majesty hast thou overthrown thine adversaries.
Perfect.
Powerful.
Where is that from? Quick hint, that one is not a psalm either. That one's from somewhere else. Exodus. That is from Exodus 15. It's called the Song of Moses. Moses teaches the people this song, and they sing it all the time to remember they're leaving Egypt. And so, what is the Egypt that we have left? Our former delusions, our idolatries, our sins. God is going to smash all of those.
What's the practicality of the cross?
Very good. Thank you for asking. I was getting to that. So, in ancient times, you have these nice big sleeves, right? So what's to keep my sleeve from dropping in the chalice or whapping over, something on the altar? It's the cuffs. The cuffs hold your sleeves in place. They have a practical aspect. Practical aspect. That's exactly it. And the left cuff? Who can read the prayer for the left cuff?
Thy hands have made and fashioned me, give me understanding that I may learn thy commandments.
And so again, if you want to know, like, what is the point of these? This is why. I love these Psalms. That's Psalm 119, verse 73 through 74. And now we're going to get to stuff that I don't wear. I don't wear it because I have not been awarded it. But I have two of them. I have purple ones. I don't have them in this set of vestments. One's called Nibdrenik. I hope I'm saying that right. Nibdrenik. And the other one is called an epigonatian. I know the epigonatian a little easier. My Greek's better than my old church Slavonic sometimes. So, this is kind of an interesting thing, a Nibdrenik and an epigonatian. The Nibdrenik, they both mean roughly the same thing. One is Slavic and one is Byzantine. One is Slavic and one is Byzantine, and it's a later addition to the vestments. Early vestments didn't have, oh, we're skipping my phylone. You guys are supposed to say, Father, what are you doing? You're skipping the phylone. We'll get to that next then. All right, my phylone. I guess they do come next. Oh, then yeah. I'm sorry. I'm getting all mixed up because I never wear them. I can't remember when they go on. So, who knows which is which? Which is which?
Wait, what are the names again?
Epigonatian is in your left hand.
This is an epigonatian. And this is a Nibdrenik. Okay? They're roughly the same thing. This is Slavic. This is Byzantine. And yet, we wear both of them in all the Slavic churches. The Byzantine churches don't use this anymore. They just use this. You'll see the bishop wears this pretty often. And senior priests wear this. Okay? So when you put it on, it goes on your right thigh. The Nibdrenik does. Unless you are also awarded an epigonatian, in which case the Nibdrenik now goes on your left thigh, and the epigonatian goes on your right thigh. What are these?
Like years of service or something?
There's a hint in the prayer. There's a hint in the prayer. Woman of God, would you read the prayer for vesting with these?
Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, Almighty One, and in thy comeliness and beauty go thou forth. Prosper and reign because of truth, meekness, and righteousness. Thy right hand shall guide thee wondrously always, now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
You're armed for battle.
I'm armed for battle. So, the emperor, if you were a very brave soldier, if you were an excellent soldier, instead of getting a medal of honor like we do, the emperor would give you a sword. He would give you a sword. And your sword would clang around and beat up your leg. So they came up with a Nibdrenik, or an epigonatian, a nice soft padded thing that you wear underneath your sword so that when it's banging against your leg, it's not bruising you up. And then the practice came, if you were a priest or a bishop or someone who really, really stood in the breach for the faith, you really fought a spiritual battle and you were victorious, then they would present you with just the cloth, just the padding for the sword, just the epigonatian. So this was an award. This was an award that developed in our church in time. And then in the Byzantine practice, typically, this is given to you when you're allowed to hear confessions. In the Slavic practice, as soon as you're a priest, they say you're good enough. If you're good enough to be a priest, good enough to hear confessions. In the Byzantine practice, sometimes, because you really need people, you make someone a priest, but maybe you still want to have him learn a little bit before he's hearing confessions. And so to show that he's a priest that can hear confessions, then they started giving him the epigonatian, not the Nibdrenik. So I got both these on right now. The bishop typically wears this. You'll typically see a bishop with this. When you are ordained, like when I was ordained, You go around the altar 3 times, and they sing, and you kneel down at the bishop, and you kiss this. You kiss this. Why? Why do you think that you would kiss this?
Symbol of his authority.
It's a symbol of his authority. That's very good. What else is it, though? This is
Protection.
for protection. This is for a sword, and a sword is for a battle. You can't use a sword for anything else. I wrote a theological paper on this once about the symbolism of a sword in Scripture. Because there's like bows, there's swords, there's spears. Like, you can hunt with a bow. You can target practice with a bow. You can hunt with a spear. A sword isn't good for anything other than killing people. You can't really use it like a knife. It's too big. You can't really hunt with it. It's not long enough. Can't really throw it at anything. It's only got one use, and that's for fighting. You're entering into a spiritual war. Who's your general? Generals always get a sword. Foot soldiers don't always get a sword. Swords are status symbols. They're hard to make. They're expensive. Your bishop is your general. I'm kissing his sword. I'm entering the battle under your service. I'm your foot soldier. I'm your priest. I'm your deacon. I'm ready for the war. And it's not against flesh and blood. It's against the adverse powers. It's against the devil. It's against sin, temptation. So, now you know what these are. Now you know what these are. Raise your hand if you didn't know what these were before. See? I knew it. I knew most people wouldn't know.
Deacons can't burn.
No. Deacons wear a stacarion, but their stacarian's a little different. And they wear their epitrachelion. We call it an orarion. And it's actually an epitrachelion, but you just wear it the one way. When you become a priest in ancient times, they would take your orarion that you just wore over your shoulder, and they'd wrap it around your neck. And a real quick thing, too, about his orarion. You see the deacon with his orarion, and what's he doing with it all the time? He's holding it up when he prays. He's pointing to things with it, right? So in ancient times, again, we talked about how deacons were they were the ones that set the tables and brought the communion and all that. They also do the litanies. Did you have prayer books in ancient times all the time? No, they were expensive, okay? In ancient times, and we have some of these, the deacon, if you were praying for somebody, right, you would write it on the orarion. For the sick and the suffering, especially, who am I praying for? That's why the deacon always, he's pointing you towards God. He's a herald, right? But also, practically speaking, he's got who he's praying for written down on it. He's also got the prayers on it. Young deacons, new deacons, not uncommon. Let me scratch it on here. Let me write it on here so I know what I'm supposed to be praying. I don't have a service book. My orarion is my service book. I think that's so beautiful. It just shows how divine our worship is, but also how human it is. Because I can't remember every name. I gotta write it down. Well, I got my orarion. I'll write it down. And now I'm heralding God. I'm holding it up. I'm calling your attention, and I'm also looking at it. You'll see a lot of things in liturgy as we go through this class are like that. Okay, now the Philone. Somebody read the prayer.
Thy priests, O Lord, shall be clothed with righteousness, and thy saints shall rejoice with gladness, always now and ever, in ages and amen.
Where's that come from? Psalm 39, Psalm 32, verse 9. Very good. And you'll see, so I cheated a little bit with my Philone. Philones are tricky. Look at all this stuff I'm getting. I'm not used to wearing these, so now my cross is all caught up in it. What did I say? What gets caught up? The cross.
Father, why don't you wear that one
Which one? My epigonatian?
Yeah,
So
because you said,
I hear confessions. So in our practice, priests are given the right to hear confessions right away, and that is an award. So if I become an archpriest someday, then I'll be allowed to wear that. And then a lot of vestment makers, I tell them, don't make it. I don't have one, and then they just make it. The Russians always make them and just give them to me. And then the people I buy from here in America, they're like, do you want one, Father? That'll be an extra $135. And I say, no, that's okay. That's okay.
So we have a question.
I'm going to
I know
get...
that these aren't the straps to hold your jersey.
Hold that up real good. So you'll see on that falone, there are two strings.
And they're on the
There are two
front.
ribbons.
They're like attached underneath.
And so what those are for is to tie your falone around your back. You loop it around and you tie it in front. And that's to keep it from doing this when I'm serving. How would that look while I'm serving? Does that look good?
Beautiful, Father.
Does that look great? So it's to keep it in place. Father Brian,
do they all have them?
all of them have them. All of them come with it. Father Brian cut them off. Cut them off. Why? Do you see how tangled and mixed up and like I am? I'm always getting tangled up in stuff. Have you seen me tie these things? Like they come untied half the time. So I learned from Father Andrew, who said, listen, tell them you want a zipper on the front of your falone, because your cross is going to get caught in the clasp if you have a clasp. And he said, I want you to look at this part of the falone in the back of my epitrachelion. You'll see a button on my epitrachelion and the snap on the falone.
Oh, you got a button and snap it down.
So I snapped this bad boy on, and now it stays still. And I got no ribbons to play with. Got no ribbons to play with. So all you priests that are watching, order your vestments this way. It makes life so much better. So much better. But the black set, I only wear once in a while, so I think I left them on. So now I'm vested to serve. So why a falone? What's this for? So I'll tell you, liturgically, what do I always have to wear? If I'm going to do any service, I have to have I got to have my epitrachelion. I got to have my stole. Can't serve without this. Okay? But you'll see any service where the royal doors open, I put my falone on. If you ever want to know when's Father Brian going to open the royal doors, watch for me to put this on. Watch for me to put this on.
And what does that mean?
Well, it's proper dress. So Takamaka, my feet went into sleep mode. I was going to go back. So if you saw on those pictures of the Roman, like typical Roman dress, you had your robe, and then you had an outer robe that you wore. You had an outer robe that you wore because that was kind of like your jacket, your raincoat, all in one. And so we still have this. We still have this. But spiritually, the prayer, what does the prayer say? What am I saying when I put this on? My soul shall rejoice in the Lord, for he has clothed me with a garment. Oh, that's my Stikarian. I'm like looking at this like, well, that doesn't sound right. Thy priest, our Lord, shall be clothed with righteousness, and thy saints shall rejoice with joy always, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. Amen. Psalm 32, verse 9. This is God's righteousness. Am I righteous? All of you should be going like this. Father Brian is not a righteous guy. Like, listen, I know Father Brian. He's cranky when he doesn't get enough sleep. He's really cranky when he doesn't get his creamer and his coffee. He's, like, I'm the first among sinners, beloved. That's why I'm always saying, forgive me a sinner, But a priest has to be righteous. Only the righteous can serve the Lord. Whose righteousness am I putting on? This is Christ's righteousness.
Can we go back just a minute?
Of course.
Okay. So the service starts. You're facing east, facing the altar.
We haven't even gotten to that part yet.
You don't have the phenomenon when everything starts.
What do you mean? Of course I do.
Why?
When the doors open and I do blessed is the kingdom, I'm wearing...
Yes. But for some services you don't have it on for...
That's right. I have this.
Then the royal doors open, and then...
That's right. For great vespers. For great vespers. That's right.
What is the meaning of that? Why don't you walk out? And
What
start
do you
the
think
service
the meaning
before
is?
The doors open?
What do you think the meaning is?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay. That's fair enough. The priest is an image of Christ. He's an image of Christ. Right? Okay. The altar behind that iconostasis, where is that? What is that supposed to be an image of? Heaven. Heaven. The doors open, heaven is revealed. That's why the lights come on. Yeah? Where does God dwell? God dwells in unapproachable light. So we turn the lights on, right? Can I come out of heaven without Christ's robe of righteousness? Can anything righteous, unrighteous rather, come out of heaven? Out through the royal doors? No.
Okay, but why don't you just have it on all the time? I guess that was my question.
Ah, very good question. Because you don't need it on all the time.
Huh?
You don't need it on all the time. Also, it's hot.
Okay, I'll buy that.
There is always a practical and a spiritual reason for everything, beloved. Always. Also, by the way, that's another thing too. You notice how quick and easy it is for me to just put this on and just snap it? Instead of like fumbling around trying to tie and oh no, we got to do the entrance now. I'm making an ad for what's that? Oh, we got to finish up. All right, real quick. We're going to go 5 minutes over. So we got my vestments. I want to talk real quick about this sheet. If you grab the sheet, Crystal West sheet. I love this. Every new priest has Crystal West's sheet printed out and hanging up. So you'll notice I'm wearing different colors, right? There are different colors. Why different colors? For the different seasons. There are different liturgical seasons. And so when Christianity becomes legal very quickly, we start having different colors to celebrate and call to mind the different seasons. Okay? And you'll see on this sheet, the very first column, it says B/D only. That stands for bright, dark. In ancient times, it was bright or dark vestments. If it's a festal, it's celebrationary, it's resurrectional, it's about the Theotokos, it's bright. And if it's penitential, it's a time of fasting, it's dark. It's dark. And so there was no set to like, okay, what's dark and what's light. And really you'll see in a lot of Antiochian churches, a lot of Greek churches, there isn't really a standard. There's not. Like you're shaking your head like, no, there's not, Father. There's not like set colors. The high Russian Orthodox Church, because Peter the Great loved everything Western, and in the Roman Catholic Church, and at this time, they really start to develop a set of colors. He said, oh, I like that. We'll do that too. And so that's where just look at the sheet. Oh, it's the nativity of the Theotokos through leave taking. Well, you got to wear blue or gold. Blue is for the Theotokos. Gold is for anything super holy. Transfiguration, gold or white, Great Lent, purple. And so a quick note on purple. Liturgical purple is not this. This is not real purple. Just so you know, in the ancient world, this color doesn't really exist. It's hard to make. It's burgundy. Could you hold up those for me? That's closer to liturgical purple. That is what purple in the ancient world was. It was a burgundy. If you look at our carpet in the church, that's what purple was. That's what purple was. But in the 1600s, at the time that this starts to get standardized in the Russian High Church, you could make purple. Purple was a color that they could make now very easily, especially like the, as we like to jokingly call it in seminary, the Barney the dinosaur purple. And so it starts to become the tradition in Slavic churches, oh, it's Great Lent, and you got to wear purple, and everybody knows that's purple. And so I kind of resisted it, and I wanted to wear those all the time. And then my aunt called me, and she was like, what the heck is wrong with you? You don't have purple vestments, and your vestments are so plain and boring. And I said, well, I'm a plain and boring guy. And she said, no, you have to have at least one Gucci set of vestments. That is a direct quote. Aunt Karen, if you're watching this, I love you. And so she got me these very beautiful purple vestments. She killed two birds with one stone. And I very much love them. And I do love my Aunt Karen. So there's a little bit of history for you there. There are seasons in the church. Seasons in the church. And so to kind of help highlight those seasons, again, there's colors. What else do we do seasonally? You'll notice. It's not just my vestments. What else changes color?
Oh, all the cloths.
All altar cloths, all the cloths that are out. What about?
If there's a curtain, the curtain.
If there was a curtain, the curtain would. What about candles? Candles typically get changed. Candles traditionally get changed. You got different colors. If you look, we have nice purple candles on the altar. If you want to know why it takes me so long to come back to you in coffee hour, this is why. Now, I'm all stuck. Getting this stuff off. I knew one priest that said, I wish they could make these with Velcro.
Perfect idea.
I've seen them with zippers. And the argument was, listen, if zippers were a thing in ancient times, these bad boys would have zipped on. These bad boys would have zipped on or Velcroed on. So, what's another thing that changes with the season?
Chalice veils.
Chalice veils, okay. There's something else that we do here, and a lot of Orthodox church, not all of them, but Father Tom Hopko, who, if you haven't figured it out by now, I love everything about that man, and I'm going to do everything that man did. He was a very big proponent that, like, in the modern world, we have lost this sense of season, of time. And all of your senses need to be engaged in that. So visually, you should see different colors, but also you should smell different smells. And so you'll notice, if you start paying attention, you'll notice that there are different smells. And priests, they all kind of pick their favorite smells for different seasons. And you'll notice if you're in a church for a long time with a priest that does this, like the parishioners will walk in and they'll know right away what feast we're celebrating. Just from the smell. Just from the smell. What sense is most strongly associated with memory? It's smell. It's smell. And so, after a while, beloved, you'll walk into the church and if you smell certain kinds of incense, you'll say, oh, we must have done a panakida. Oh, there's a feast for the Theotokos. Oh, you know. You'll start to notice over time. You'll start to notice over time. And that's just to give you, again, the sense of the liturgical seasons, beloved. Because they're a thing. You know, we have penitential seasons like now, and we have feasting seasons like Pascha, which is just 2 weeks away. Can you believe it? Not. What is it? It's next week is, nope. 2 weeks away from now is Holy Week, and then Pascha, so 3 weeks away.
Still close.
All right. Any questions?
So if you're a young priest starting out, what vestment colors do you absolutely have to have?
Excellent question.
Bright and dark.
Bright and dark. Bright and dark. And if you're a part of like the Antiochian church, or if you're part of the Greek church, or Serbian church, or like, I don't know, some of these churches, that's what they say, just bright and dark, but they don't care. And so a lot of my friends at St. Vlad's, they typically had like a burgundy set, and then like a white and gold set or a white set. And so my first 2 sets of vestments were actually this set and that burgundy set. These were my first 2 sets of vestments. And then little by little, people who love you offer to buy you different sets of vestments. Your church offers, and you start to fill in the extra colors. Which you can see where this tradition of having more colors comes from, right? As time goes on, like, you know, Father, you need a new set of vestments? I want to get something for you. Well, I mean, Father so-and-so up the road, he has a really nice set. I think they're like gold colored. Okay, let me get you a gold colored. And then it's like, when am I going to wear this gold colored set of vestments? You know, and it's just natural how this develops. And it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing by, you know, by the 1600s. It's definitely like kind of set how it is now. Good question.
How about the Russian
Oh, very good.
high-back?
So a lot of you will notice some people were scandalized when I showed up in my phylone was Byzantine style. It was like, Father, where's your big high back on your vestments? Why isn't that there? Okay. That is a Slavic, particularly Russian practice, to have a vestment with a big high back. Why do they have a big high back?
Keep drag off your neck.
So there's 2 reasons. One, it is warmer. Anybody ever sit in like a wingback chair that kind of like, it reflects the heat from your body back onto you, okay? Hey man, you're serving a liturgy out in Siberia. You're doing theophany in St. Petersburg. Oh yeah, you want that, okay? There's a practical reason too. Russia traditionally, up until really Peter the Great, was a rather poor backwater country. You could not afford a lot of vestments, okay? So very frequently, a priest would show up, and it was, Father, we're so glad to have you. Don't get caught up in your kakamaka vest, and here are the church vestments. You didn't have your own set of vestments. You just had what the churches were. So your vestments had to be what? One size fits most. One size fits most. And so the thing with those high back vestments that's kind of cool that I learned in seminary was if you're stockier, they sit up higher. And if you're skinnier, they whoop, and they go down. If you're taller, you know, we're shorter. So practically, since it's cone-shaped, it's one size fits most. You know, my phylone, this one, unless your neck is pretty close to my size, unless your build is pretty close to mine, you know, Joe could wear my phylone. Ben's like 5 inches taller than me. Probably not, you know.
He needs the Russian.
He needs the right. No, he doesn't either. He needs a bigger set of Greek ones. But if we had them, if they were Russian style, Ben could wear them, you could wear them, I could wear them. The only thing that limits them is if you're too short, they'll drag on the ground. Or if you're really super duper tall, they might look a little silly because they're really high up off the ground. But I mean, they do. So that's a practical application to that. And we'll end the class there, and then I'll tell you the reason why mine look the way they look when we're not recording.